Recording in progress.
Masih?
Good morning, Chef.
Can we start, Gune?
Yes, Chair, we can start, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. The Honorable Deputy Ministers, I can see Honorable Chana, Bilani Machake, and I've been told that also the DM in the President's Honorable Kenny Murulung, all honorable members and colleagues, once more, good morning. Can I then close my video, honorable members, because...
Good morning to you, your good self, Chairperson. Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Whip. Good morning, Honorable Ntuli. Can I then close this video of mine because there's load shedding since this morning. I'm told it will be back at 10. The agenda. Thank you very much. I must say. Hi, Masi. Okay, thank you. We can see it. Let me then welcome everyone in this committee. And I know that we have a long recess, and also we are from our constituency period, and in between we had many activities, a lot of activities by political parties. But however, I hope that honorable members have rested and ready for this quarter. And I think, honorable members, then we are officially opening this meeting, and obvious welcoming all of you. And quickly we'll go to the next item. Apologies, Comrade Masi.
Good morning to you, Chair, and honorable members and deputy ministers and colleagues. Chair, we only have one apology for Honorable Sibis, who's not able to attend the meeting. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Masi. I don't see that. I'm not sure whether the minister is here, because I have heard you saying that only the deputy ministers that will be in this meeting. And I understand that maybe then the apology of the minister have been also forwarded for this meeting.
Chair, my hand is up. Deputy Minister, Public Service and Administration.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
To say, yes, indeed, we are registering an apology for the minister who is out of the country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, which means then we've got two apologies, one of Honorable Smisi and then two of the Honorable Minister Sisnokolo Kivit. Honorable members, the meeting of today is about the future of the Thusong service centers. And we'll understand that sometime last year we've also had our own oversight, and we've also noted the effectiveness of these centers. And in our own noting and our visit, we've also picked up, honorable members, some challenges from its location. You'll understand we've been in Gauteng, we've been in the Northern Cape, and also we've been in the Free State. And we've also in our oversight noted also the funding for these Thusong centers, and of which because whilst also we also, since some provinces we have also saw that there's a service delivery challenges in terms of its model. But however, we also picked up in Gauteng, honorable ministers and honorable members, that there are some Thusong centers that are not effectively Atlantica services the communities. And then today we have invited the key departments so that they provide and give us an update in terms of these Thusong centers, and will then give the deputy minister to do her own remarks, and then it will be the presentation and the update from the Center for Public Service, the center, the CPSI, and immediately after that, it will be then the department. But I will request that the deputy minister do her own remarks, and then also the presentations. Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you, Chairperson. Good morning to members of the Portfolio Committee. Good morning to the DG of Public Service and Administration, Yoliso Makasi, senior management that is present here this morning with us, members of the public. Chair, let me indicate that today we will actually be handling the update on the development of online Thusong Service Center, which is what is being established as a Thusong Service, virtual Thusong Service Center in the Northern Cape. We will start with that and later update you on the future of Thusong Service Centers by the Department of Public Service and Administration and Government Communications. Chair, I'm sure we are all aware of these one-stop service centers that government has actually put in place to try and make services easily accessible for South Africans. A lot of work has been put into it in the past and even presently, but now we are at the point where we are actually assessing these Thusong service centers, besides the fact that there's also a little bit of different kind of progress in terms of the Northern Cape, to the extent that we are looking at the possibility of making these Thusong service centers to be virtual, thinking that it will actually be making Thusong service centers much more even easily accessible, but also noting that the public needs to actually be brought with in terms of skilling them in terms of IT skills, so that once these virtual Thusong service centers have been established, members of the public are in the position to manage to use these Thusong service centers. One thing that has actually also been a challenge up to now is to really find a stable home for the Thusong service centers. They don't have a dedicated department, national or provincial, or government office that actually takes care of them. These are matters that will actually also be deliberated on today, this morning, Chair. And there is also a framework for Thusong service centers that we might actually also put interest in, to the extent that it might actually help to guide future processes in relation to these Thusong service centers, that is operation of Thusong service centers. I thank you, Chair. May I give the opportunity to the DG of Public Service and Administration to introduce the two matters that we are putting before you this morning. I thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Chair, I'm not sure if I can continue.
Yes, DG, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to the committee members, including the Chairperson, the Deputy Minister, colleagues from DPSA, from CPSI, and the Deputy Minister, apologies, and the Deputy Minister from the Presidency, and all protocol observed in case I miss any of the colleagues. We have two presentations. The first presentation, we would suggest that DPSA starts with the presentation because I think it sets a broader discussion around the Thusong centers, and then CPSI could follow with the one that is specific to Northern Cape Thusong Center they've been working on. We have colleagues from DPSA, Dr. Patrick Sokela, who's the acting DDG responsible for service delivery. The DDG, Mr. Willie Vukela, is traveling with the minister. So Dr. Sokela is acting. And with your permission, Chair, I would like to request that Dr. Sokela makes a does the presentation. Thank you very much.
No, that's fine. It's an order, DG.
Thank you very much, DG. Chairperson, Deputy Minister, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, all protocol is observed. My name is Patrick. I'm going to make this presentation on behalf of the DDG, as the DG has advised. I've got my technical colleagues, Mr. Santi, who is going to project for me. Santi. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thusong Service Centers are quite a key program of government, which are meant to facilitate access to integrated service delivery. Santi can go down. In terms of the outline, I'm going to talk to the background. Secondly, the implementation challenges, the repositioning of the Thusong Service Center program, the benchmarking on best practices that have been established, the future of the Thusong Service Center program, as the Honorable Deputy Minister has alluded to in terms of the lead department that we have to explore that will lead the program. Then we're going to focus on the urban model of Thusong Service Centers, which has been piloted at Maponya Mall, and then we're going to have a conclusion. Santi? In terms of the background, the Thusong Center program was established in 1999 by Cabinet with the main objective of expanding access to information and services in an integrated and sustainable manner. The aim was to provide access to development communication, quality services, and opportunities closer to where the citizens live. The program was initially designed to foster cooperation between departments to improve service access. Focus was on underserviced areas, which was subsequently, upgraded to include the urban pilot at Maponya Mall in 2011. GCIS was mandated with the coordination function of the program at the time, which ensured that various structures were established to strengthen management and governance of the centers. CETA at the time was given the responsibility to connect the Thusong Service Centers. The current administration national reconfiguration of the state has subsequently migrated CETA from DPSA to DCDT. Santi? In terms of the challenges that pertain to implementation, the generic challenges facing the optimal functionality and sustainability of the Thusong Service Centers include, amongst others, the fact that no national lead department is currently, assigned to coordinate the program, as the Honorable Deputy Minister has alluded to. There's lack of legislative prescript for collective services by government, leading to unstructured coordination system. It's located and coordinated currently between the offices of the Premier and COCTA offices, departments across the provinces. There is currently lack of dedicated funding, whereby the Thusong Service Center program does not have a coordinated workable funding model. The changes in external environment, the requirements of the National Development Plan, and previous reviews and oversight of Thusong Service Center program have identified and highlighted numerous institutional and operational challenges. The increased demand for services within the context of the current constraints has been one of the challenges. The changing of the demographics, the migration, and the settlement patterns have been also challenges facing the program. The evolving service delivery models of departments that require the need to diversify and modernize has also been identified in the process of implementation, Santi. In terms of the role of the DPSA, DPSA is responsible for policy and regulatory functions as required in terms of the Public Administration Management Act of 2014. In terms of Section 18.1 of the said Act, the Minister, that is the Minister for the Public Service and Administration, may make a regulation regarding a framework for the establishment, promotion, and maintenance of service centers to enhance service delivery to the public. Furthermore, DPSA has the authority or has been provided with authority in terms of the Public Service Act, Section 3.1, that provides that the minister is responsible for establishing norms and standards that relate, amongst others, to transformation, reform, innovation, and any other matter to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the public service and its service delivery to the public. Santi? The repositioning of the Thusong Center program, in terms of the setup, there is an interdepartmental steering committee, which is made out of the DPSA, GCIS, National Treasury, DCOC, DPWI, DPME. This committee was tasked with the responsibility of contributing towards the repositioning of the Thusong Center programs. That was during the previous medium-term strategic framework, which is 2014 to 2019. Numerous critical projects were concluded, which included the development of a business case on suitable options on governance arrangements, the overall coordination and location across the three spheres of government, and possible viable funding model aimed at ensuring optimal functionality and sustainability. Santi? Positioning of the program is to be underpinned by the following. The national coordination function of the Thusong Service Center, that it be situated within a department or institution with a footprint at local government level. That is the lead department that the Honorable Deputy Minister was alluding to. The setting of norms and standards for maximum distance to be traveled by citizens and minimum norms and standards for service delivery. The usage of geographic information system to develop service delivery special maps to be used for aligning services and ensuring that service access points are spatially logical. The development of a funding model under the guidance of the National Treasury, the DPSA, and the GCIS. The promotion service centers as platforms of direct interactive communication closer to the people, and the documenting and capturing of experiences and lessons learned, and development of an establishment and management blueprint for the centers to ensure standardization. So that is the repositioning and the approach in terms of the way it is intended. In terms of the benchmarking on best practices, We would like to highlight the following best practices for critical consideration that will ensure optimal functionality. The first one, the long-term funding is essential to enable appropriate institutional arrangements, collaborative processes, establishment of procedures and protocol, monitoring and reporting. The government-wide institutional founded on legislation to provide guidance in terms of accountability and oversight, operations, resources, and overall management and implementation. The allocation of the program to a national lead department to coordinate, manage, report on the program. Strengthened intergovernmental relations using the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act as a basis to enhance and improve coordination and cooperation within the centers. So that pertains to the benchmarking on best practices. It continues, the next point being an integrated service delivery model for the centers, which should be supported by a strong ICT infrastructure and systems which are interlinked, aligned, and are able to share information across departments. The location of the centers, which should be decided through an in-depth study undertaken to determine community needs, sufficient footprint, the geographical spread and demand for services, the need to formalize contracted relationships and responsibilities through the memorandum of agreements, which will establish an understanding of the roles, responsibilities, and relationships in managing the centers. And the organizational culture that envisions creating a developmental citizen-centric public service that is guided by the ethos of Batupile. So that pertains to the best practices in terms of the benchmarking going forward. In terms of the future for the Thusong service centers, empowered by the current PAMA Act, which stands for the Public Administration Management Act of 2014, the DPSA has finalized the framework for service centers and framework for Thusong service centers. Those are the frameworks that the Deputy Minister was alluding to. Both these instruments are at the consultation stage currently. Amongst others, these frameworks seek to provide for future Thusong service centers that focus on the following. Number one, the need for dedicated national lead department, a responsive funding model, a governance structure, a service delivery model, the element of monitoring and evaluation, strengthen complaints and compliments system in line with recourse that will provide recourse in terms of the Batupile principles. Then in terms of the urban model for the Thusong Service Center, DPSA was mandated by Cabinet to pilot a one-stop shop of government in 2018. That is the one that has been going on at Maponya Mall. The center is made of the following departments. From the province, we have got the Gauteng Department of Transport. From national, we've got Department of Employment and Labor. We've got Department of Home Affairs. Back to the province, we've got Gauteng Job Center. National, we've got National Youth Development Agency. And then from the province, we have got the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller. Various studies were conducted around the open mall concept, focusing on the institutional blueprint for the establishment, management, and monitoring of urban centers. The center has served as a best practice model for other countries around the continent, for countries such as Kenya, Botswana, and Namibia. Santi? Center is the only one with the queue management system in the country to demonstrate service that can demonstrate the service request and demand by citizens to enable continuous improvement to the delivery of services. A lessons learned report and a citizen satisfaction survey were developed to measure the impact that the center has on the communities within Soweto and surrounding areas. Discussions are currently underway to transfer the center to the relevant lead department in Gauteng through the Office of the Premier. Santi? In terms of the conclusion, the committee is requested to note the work that has been undertaken to date regarding the Thusong Center program, and also to consider that there should be a lead department that oversees the management and execution of the service delivery for the betterment of community. Thank you, Chairperson. I yield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sokela, with your presentation. I will then hand over to the CPSI. I have seen Melidia is here, and she can take over and give whoever that is going to present on behalf of the CPSI. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Greetings to the Deputy Minister and our colleagues from DPSA and CPSI. Honorable members and Chairperson, I have a load shedding in 7 minutes, so I'd rather keep my video off to make sure that I stay connected. Mr. Piers Conrad will do the presentation, and we also have the project manager, Mr. Nape Mutiba, who will assist in taking questions because it's a technical presentation. I will hand over to Mr. Conrad. Thank you, Chairperson.
Good morning, Honourable Chair. Good morning, Honourable Deputy Ministers and Honourable Members. Thank you for this opportunity. Honourable Chair, you will recall that during the oversight visit to the Northern Cape, the Portfolio Committee were also, this presentation was made to the Portfolio Committee. So members are familiar with the project. This presentation is therefore an update on the status since the previous presentation. We would also like to remind members that this is a project under development, and therefore we cannot as yet demonstrate the full solution, but we will just share the status of where we are at present. Members will recall that this is a joint project between the Northern Cape Office of the Premier that is responsible for oversight over service delivery, as well as oversight over the current Thusong service centers in the province, of which there are 5. Members will also know the mandate of the CPSI, and that this initiative is part of our annual performance plan, and specifically around the research and development deliverables, where our mandate does require us to firstly conduct needs-driven research, and if we cannot find existing solutions, then to develop new solutions in partnership with the service department. Once developed, we will then move further in terms of the testing and piloting. This project currently is completing its development phase and then will be moved into the testing and piloting phase in the next 2 months. We were just privileged to receive the presentation from the DPSA that gave us the background to Thusong Center, so therefore I will not repeat these. But it is important to note that the challenges that has just been highlighted by the DPSA is what is actually underpinning the development of this solution. In the Northern Cape in particular, they're still stuck in very much of a first generation implementation. 23 municipalities are still without the service of a Thusong center. There are budget constraints. There are issues around community protest, and then infrastructure, as indicated by the DPSA, remains a challenge, specifically in terms of data connectivity. Very important as a motivator for this project is the vast size of the province. We sometimes forget that the province is the size of the whole of Germany, with only 5 Thusong centers, and the cost for citizens to travel to a Thusong center is becoming impossible. We also note the importance of developing e-skills within the province as such. And therefore, the Northern Cape approached the CPSI, and we started by adopting our design thinking methodology, and started with a consultative workshop where all role players, including citizens, were present in terms of the actual design. What has happened since the previous presentation to the portfolio committee is we've started to build the infrastructure platform and engaged, and we're happy that Amazon Web Services is in the process of entering into an MOU with the Northern Cape Office of the Premier to actually host this.
Through you, can I interrupt here? Your slides are not moving. And it's not on presentation mode. Apologies for that.
My apologies, Chair. I think, let me just restart sharing. Can I just check?
Yes, the slides are moving now.
They are moving now?
Yes.
Okay, let me just restart. Can I just confirm that you can see the problem statement, Chair?
Yes, we can.
And it's moving now.
Still not on slide mode.
Yeah.
I think there's a.
Yeah, go to view options.
Let me just see. I think it's sharing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it fine now?
Yes.
It's showing progress to date with the design thinking. Yeah, it seems to every time share the wrong screen. Chair, if we just on the slide with progress to date, we are at that stage where we have sorted out the cloud hosting of the solution, and an MOU between AWS and the Northern Cape is in the process of being signed. This will make it possible for us to not have costs that are incurred during the testing and piloting in terms of the hosting of the solution, so that we can properly experiment and move forward. The Premier of the Northern Cape has also committed to this project in the State of the Province address, and it is very supportive of him to be the champion of this project and make sure that it will be delivered accordingly. So just to give members a sense of where we are in terms of the process, on the slide you will see the basic design elements. We have used a design thinking process. The analysis and the empathizing part have been concluded. The design of the solution have been concluded, and currently it is being built. I will just, in a few slides, just demonstrate how the look and feel of the solution would be. The plan is from here, once the build has been concluded, and it's about 70 to 80% complete, we will move into a testing and piloting phase from the end of Q3 into Q4 of this financial year. During that process, we will also then evaluate, get user, and that's specifically citizen feedback, and then have an iterative process in terms of the building, testing, and piloting and evaluation. The idea is to have a minimum viable product in place. With a minimum viable product, we mean something that is usable by citizens and have some basic services available so that they can access the information of. I think the best way of describing this to members is we are all familiar with our banking applications. We also know the history and the long-term development that these applications has gone through. First, there were a few services, and then services were added as people become more comfortable. In the beginning, not everyone were using banking services online. They preferred to go to a bank, and some people still prefer to go to the physical bank site. So it's very much the same, that the application is linked to the Thusong Center. It's not replacing the Thusong Center. And as people grow in their familiarity and in terms of the access to data, the access to technology, there would be, we anticipate a gradual move to more and more online services. So there will be a very strong link between the solution and the Thusong Center. So phase one would have that minimum viable product, where we make sure that we start linking the existing services at the Thusong Center, have the website link, and where there are transactional abilities available, to start incorporating those transactional abilities. It will have the reporting and analytics, and the security and compliance, and would be making use of cloud computing. Phase two, once we are happy that citizens are comfortable with the MVP, we will move more towards the integration of systems. Members would have heard now in the previous presentation that with physical Thusong centers, this remains a challenge. So we hope that we will be, through this integration, be able to assist the physical Thusong centers also with the integration of various systems, and therefore the service delivery departments are involved with the development. Also, in terms of communication, whether it's through video conferencing or a chat function or a help desk, we would be able to connect citizens remotely to the physical Thusong centers, and we will also be able to then manage their access to through queue management and the necessary authentication. Phase three would then include some of the more current 4IR technologies in terms of expanding services to citizens. We have previously shown just the login screen to portfolio members. We have created the physical online testing site. I'm not going to due to connectivity challenges that we always have with these presentations, I'm going to just show you screenshots instead of navigating through the actual website, just to give you a sense of the look and feel. For example, when you first register, we go through the normal registration process as you would go if you apply for a bank, or if you the first time register for a banking application or any other secure application. We will validate your identity, and then you would be able to navigate the various services of government service providers. Here's an example of the application for a child support grant. The idea would be that you connect and would be able to apply directly from the application for a child support grant. Obviously, there are specific requirements, and the design challenge is currently for phase 2 is how do we then integrate in a secure manner the application. This may still require a visit to the Thusong Center, but it would eliminate multiple visits so that most of the paperwork can then be done online, and the final verification and identity verification can then take place at the Thusong Center. In the long term, with the integration of 4IR technologies in phase 3, we foresee that you don't even have to go in to a Thusong Center. So this is just to demonstrate the transition of services, first of all, by just providing the information. And this information would mostly be information that comes from the services.gov.za portal, with additional features. And as the online presence of the departments and the integration of systems continue, we will then further continue to integrate this. In terms of reflection on where we are, as I've indicated, that we will move into the testing and piloting phase in the next 2 months, and therefore we will be able to identify where there are challenges in terms of connectivity and move forward. But what we have identified already in the process is there is a very strong need for championing the zero rating of all government online systems. We've seen with many of the applications that there's a reprieve period, but then the usage of these systems are deteriorating and getting lower because of the cost of data. So we are engaging with Gauteng e-government, DCDT and other players in terms of trying to speed up the zero rating of these services. That would make it then, in essence, free for a citizen to access the app and to even later transact on the app. The second part, in terms of system integration, as a country, we are in our infancy around the integration of services, and this becomes extremely important if we want to expand on e-government. We are currently engaging with Department of Home Affairs on identity verification, and also engaging with CIPC in terms of leveraging the mechanisms that they've used with BIS Portal. Portfolio committee members would know that BIS Portal are integrating, if I recall correctly, 6 or 7 different services if you would like to register for a business. And you can do all of that online, including opening a bank account, registering for your or applying for a SARS registration number, and so forth. Then very important, especially given the budgetary constraints that we have, we need to appoint more developers to develop these in-house solutions. It's something that we need to prioritize as government because the demand currently exceeds the supply. We have seen, especially with solutions like BIS Portal, where these solutions literally save government millions of rands in terms of development, maintenance, and licensing fees. And it is possible for us to develop more and more of these systems in-house. But in order to do that, we need teams of developers. Currently, we have 1 developer from the CPSI, 1 junior developer, and 1 developer from the Office of the Premier working on this project. And this impacts on the quality and the duration of the project. So it takes us much longer then to deliver on this solution compared to if we had a team of developers working on it, delivering on it, and then move on to the next project. The CPSI currently has about 13 projects in the waiting from departments that would like us to work with them to develop these solutions. We can only work on 2 projects per annum, and Portfolio Committee members can see that this is not tenable. We really need to expand on this capacity. Chairperson, I think that is the last slide. Thank you, and we would be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skonrad. And thank you. And we are then, honorable members, taking hands for clarities to the two presentation or questions. I'm taking hands, honorable members. I can see, I will take Honorable Nduli, followed by Dr. Kondwe, then Honorable Notnachal, Honorable Maneli. You can start, Honorable Nduli.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to the meeting, deputy ministers in our midst, Deputy Minister Majake and Deputy Minister Morolong, DG, DPSA, DG and your team, Comrade House Leader, CPSI with your team. Firstly, Chair, I would love to welcome both presentations. Chair, first and foremost, I think I must register my concern on the issue of the lead department. I think the lead department is very crucial because it also enhances bureaucratic systems holistically. Now, in this regard, it's being Thusong centers are being motherless. I think, Chair, in the meeting, Cabinet must take this serious and be able to effect it accordingly. Moving forward, Chair, one comments the innovations that are taking place in this regard. But I wanted to cite something to say, much as we understand the fourth IR and the digital systems in the world, that as South Africa, we shouldn't be left behind. These innovations shouldn't shut down other people or other sectors. If I may make an example, Chairperson, in the meeting is that as for SASSA beneficiaries are mostly elderly people. For their grant, and also maybe you can just put it roughly that maybe 85% of SASSA beneficiaries are not IT orientated. So whilst moving forward, but also open the space for them so that they don't go next time and be told that no, don't come here. You must do this online. And also bearing in mind even the type of gadgets our poor people that are using. Once you are a SASSA person, it's not easy for you to buy actually the smartphone. You will be using those small anyana phones for you to make calls or receive calls. Of which it's not even if you would love to, it doesn't have the necessary apps. I'm very much happy that the presenter even mentioned that whilst the banking systems have been developed and people are more happier with them, but there are still people that prefer going visiting banks physically. Chair, moving forward, I wanted to ask some questions, other questions as well. To say, what will be the linkage between the district development model and the Thusong centers, Thusong service centers? Again, is the free Wi-Fi partnership in Northern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal been observed? And does the department have holistic connectivity strategy for all Thusong centers, service centers? Another one, Chair, is how effective are the digital centers? Do they have sufficient connectivity? And are they linked to fiber networks to reduce theft and damage? What monitoring mechanism exists to ensure they are functional? And how does the National Department support Thusong service centers? I think that's where I learned, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair. Honorable Mugweba.
Yes, Dr. Kodwe, you can proceed.
Thank you very much. Chair, let me start by greeting everybody on the virtual platform. I have a number of questions around the centers and the program concerning the centers. Chair, I'm also very concerned. I'm concerned, number one, because the information that we are being given is not new to us, especially around the discussions that have taken place around the future of the centers and the funding of the centers going forward. But that being said, Chair, let me ask my questions, but I really think I was expecting that we would hear about what the future of these centers is. Is there a future for them? Because I don't want to lie, things are looking very grim. Having been to Kimberley and witnessing, how effective these centers can be, but also witnessing at the same time the challenges, plaguing these centers. Anyway, Chair, my first question is, in the presentation, in particular the one from the presidency, it states that there are currently 121 out of 197 operational Thusong centers. So I want to understand what they mean by the word operational. Do they mean that these centers are operating at a full capacity or partially operational? I want to get a clearer picture of what's happening, because when we were on the ground, we noted that some of the centers were operational, but not really at a full capacity, and not exactly in the way that we had hoped, they would be operating and reaching our people. The presentation from the presidency further states that a recommendation was made in 2010 to Cabinet to relocate the national coordination function of these centers to the Department of Cooperative Governance. However, this recommendation was not approved by Cabinet. I want to understand, this recommendation that was made in 2010, was it made on the basis of the study by the DPSA on the effectiveness of the service centers? And I want to also understand why Cabinet never approved the recommendation at this time. The presentation also states that in September 2019, a Thusong Indaba Summit was held and resolved that the centers be located in Kokta based on the study by the DPSA, and discussions around the relocation of these centers is currently taking place at an inter-ministerial level between the DPSA and Kokta. I want to understand when these discussions started following the summit, because it's been almost four years since these discussions took place, or at least 4 years since the Indaba, and the centers are still not located in Kokta. So I'm trying to understand what exactly is the holdup, and when are these discussions going to be finalized? And hence my point that here, Chair, we are receiving what looks like outdated information, or information that we're not, I'm not entirely sure how we can be told about an Indaba that took place in 2019 when now we are in 2023. That's 4 years down the line, and there are still no tangible changes around the future of these centers. And as I also stated in the beginning, the centers appear to be plagued by a number of issues, including the issue of funding. So my question is, how can discussions on the location or the relocation of these centers to Kokta be taking place in the absence of discussions around the funding of these centers? One of the major challenges identified is that the program has no workable funding model. There are no earmarked funds for the program, and municipalities are unable to collect on rentals as service level agreements are not finalized. I want to understand what has happened. I mean, in 2016, you had National Treasury recommending that a cost sharing model be developed around these centers. That was 7 years ago, Chair, and nothing has happened. There's no implementation, there's no actualization around this model. And there were discussions around the relocation, but I don't believe that the discussions around the relocation can take place in the absence of discussions around the funding. And then I want to know also, okay, so it's common knowledge that these centers should be located in Kokta. When is the relocation going to happen? And how will they be funded going forward, and by whom? I mean, why is Kokta not here today, Chairperson? Because we are talking about Kokta taking on these centers, but we've not heard from Kokta's side as to whether they are ready to take over these centers and whether they agree on the funding. I mean, there's so many loose ends in all of this, Chair. And as I said, I was expecting that today we would hear about whether these centers have a future, what does that future look like, and things would have been finalized. I mean, you're talking about a funding model that was suggested 7 years ago. Nothing has happened. You're talking about an Indaba that took place in 2019. Nothing has happened. Is there really a political will for these centers? And they are very important, Chairperson. Remember, for some of our people, this is the closest they get to getting some sort of services or some sort of connection to government in some areas. So, Chair, I'm worried about the future of these centers, and I'm worried that there is no political will to ensure that these centers have a future or some sort of longevity and can really continue assisting our people, because as I indicated, they are very important. and they prevent our people having to walk long distances just to access certain services and the like. And so it's very unfortunate that we're getting all this outdated information. We're not entirely sure what is happening. And today I was expecting that we would hear that, okay, now we've decided COCTA has committed to having these centers located with them, and the funding going forward, this is what's going to happen. But here we are receiving this same old information, and we received some of this information the last time we were on oversight, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Kondwe and Honorable Notnachal, then followed by Honorable Komane and Honorable Maneli and Honorable Kibi. Honorable Notnachal.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to everybody on the platform. I would just like to pose two questions today. My first question will be, what has been the user rate of the one-stop shop and what challenges have been faced? My next question is, what are the key issues in the lessons learned report and a citizen satisfaction survey? What recommendations will be implemented? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nachal. Honorable Komane.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to my colleagues, the Deputy Minister and her crew. Chair, I want to raise my concern around the presentations that we have been finished with, because they are a repeat, so nothing much can be detected out of that. Nonetheless, Chair, we on the presentation on slide 6, we have been informed that there is an interdepartmental steering committee, which was the result and has what are the results of those ministerial committee? And notwithstanding that, they had challenges given the period of those results. I mean, of that ministerial committee. What then are the results of such? Because they have been, that ministerial committee has been put in place for some years ago. But today we're not told of their results, their challenges, or what is it that we can write home about. And Chair, and in one of the slides, it was raised that COCTA was earmarked to host the Thusong centers, but then they have raised the challenges as alluded in the presentations. What are those challenges? And then if then we're sitting here listening to, there are challenges raised by COCTA to house the Thusong centers, has there been another department that has been identified, which I doubt, because COCTA should really be the hosting department of the Thusong centers, because it applies at the provinces and it should be supported by the municipalities like that. So if then the discussion, what are the discussions around that? Having heard that COCTA has raised its challenges, but those challenges are not raised and are not alluded to us. So what is the way forward? And if there has not been an engagement around that, why is it taking this long? And Chair, I want to check with the department whether they are satisfied with the operations of the Thusong centers to date, having the reports that we have, having went to the oversights in Northern Cape and in Free State, and we have seen some of them, they are not fully operational. Is the department satisfied on the operations of the Thusong centers, which could have been beneficial to the communities? Like Honorable the first speaker who indicated that these centers would be even beneficial to the SASSA beneficiaries and so on and so forth. So one would then ask, what is the department saying about these things? Is there a political will, like Honorable Gondo has said? It shows that there's no political will to assist in this regard. Because if the centers, if there was a political will, we wouldn't be sitting here, we wouldn't be having the centers operating the way they are operating, because they would be fully functional, and there would have been a department allocated directly to house the Thusong centers. And there would be funds attached to those, committed to assist them. And again, Chair, it is said that in Gauteng, there are discussions underway in the transfer of the centers to a specific department. That would as well, Chairperson, raise the question, Uguti, to which department would those Thusong centers be transferred? Because there should be we should move from national to province to the local. So if we've got a department in the province that would house the Thusong centers, and yet we are struggling at the national level, then where funding should be coming from, where monitoring should be coming from the DPSA or the allocated department, what would then be happening, and where will that department that would be housing those centers in Gauteng, where would they be reporting to in terms of the national things? And Chair, lastly, to CP, does this centers in essence do they benefit in their how can I put it? How does this does this centers really benefit the community? If they have to benefit the community, what is it that needs to be done by both the CI and the department to enhance the proper and the effectiveness of this center, so that they can benefit? And then if they are not beneficial to the community, they should then say, so that we don't waste money and time on the things that they don't. But because to our view and vision, they would be beneficial to the community. But then, is there a political will, the Minister? Is there a political will for us to can assist in this regard? Thank you very much for now.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And greetings to everybody on the platform. Chair, let's also appreciate the presentations and probably get into discussions around those presentations. Chairperson, I would like to know as to what has been the user rate of this one-stop shop and what challenges have been faced so far. Do these centers have adequate capacity and integrated services to provide such services? And what is the service basket of these Thusong service centers? And also, if you can be told if they all have similar services. Chairperson, I think with the changing demographics, we see a lot of migration happening, and get to encourage or the different settlement patterns. Is it not in the view that one stakeholder is being left behind, which I believe that is human settlement? If it is not left behind, how so? If they are indeed left behind, when are they coming on board, Chairperson? Chairperson, also in the presentations, we learned that certain provinces like the Eastern Cape or Northwest, the Free State and Gauteng, are not listed as digitized. So it then means they are Wi-Fi enabled. Is there a plan to digitize them in the near future? My last question, Chair, will be, are communities really aware of these e-Thusong service centers? Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, honorable members. My honorable Kibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members and all the support staff or the departments that are with us here. I can hear Honorable Komani misses me. It's been a long time. Honorable Chair, let me also welcome the presentations by the presenters today. My question would be, what has been the impact of repositioning the Thusong centers, and where all underpinning interventions outlined in slide 7 of the department's representations were accomplished? My second one, are the best practices being incorporated into the future of Thusong service centers, and which new features will be incorporated? Also, on the issue of funding, Honorable Chair, this is really a concern. What funding model will be implemented in the future of Thusong Center programs, Honorable Chair? Those are my questions, and I thank you.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Kibi. In fact, just before I give the department and also the CPSI, and of which obvious I've heard that also there are colleagues from the presidents. I've got only two questions, honorable members. One is to understand if there are regulatory weaknesses with the current framework of these centers. If there are weaknesses, what are those? And secondly, what are the security measures required to protect these facilities? Because we have visited some of them, and we have also noted that also there are security issues. So those are the two questions, and I will request that one, the department respond to all the questions from honorable members, the CPSI, and obvious the officials from the GCIS that are in the platform, because when I also read their brief presentation or the summary of issues in terms of these centers, I picked up they are not far-fetched from the one from the presentation of the department. So I will request that as they respond, they are also respond to these questions. Thank you. I will then hand over to one, the CPSI, and then the departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm going to ask the project manager or PA and his team to respond to some of the questions. Thank you so much to all the members for the inputs that you've made. I just want to also indicate before Mr. Skonda comes in that, you know, research has also shown that the cell phone penetration in South Africa is quite high, over almost 187.4% of the population is using cell phones. We do acknowledge that maybe some of the senior citizens may still require to go to physical centers, but we envisage that, you know, like CIPC, you'll still have kiosks at strategic points with the staff assisting citizens to access services there. And I think the introduction of Thusong centers was meant to improve access to services by citizens. And as reflected in the presentation that we made, that with Northern Cape, they just don't have the money to, you know, to have more Thusong centers. They only have 5. And you can imagine the kind of distances that citizens have to travel in just that province to just access, you know, probably a form to apply for SASSA and so forth. So it's being caught between two options of whether you find money to build more infrastructure or enter into MOUs with municipalities and others with the challenges that have been raised without a lead department, or else you use mobile technology to improve access. But I'll hand over to Mr. Skwanrat to come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Perhaps to link to what the Executive Director was just reflecting on, I also want to caution that we don't underestimate the capabilities of our senior citizens. In one of the workshops and digital literacy sessions we had in Springbok in the Northern Cape, we had pensioners participating in it. And in Mthatha with our Youth Day, we had a pensioner teaching teachers how to code. So the ability of our senior citizens, if they have to choose to learn how to work on an application or access a kiosk, compared to have to pay 100, 200 Rand for transport to a Thusong center, I think we must not underestimate this. However, we are adopting a multi-channel approach, and the same services would still be available at the Thusong Center. I will ask Mr. Mutiba to come in a short while to just talk to the multi-channel approach that we will be adopting. I also want to just indicate that we have the same frustration in terms of connectivity. DCDT is prioritizing the next phase of SA Connect, and we trust that would open up opportunities for us to have access to data at other government facilities beyond Thusong centers, where citizens can then also access the same services. So to have like as the Executive Director indicated, CIPC with their walk-in kiosks. In terms of the benefit of the community, this will be properly assessed during the evaluation phase, but we can already anticipate significant benefits in terms of saving on travel cost, saving on waiting time, and the speed of receiving the service. In terms of the awareness of these new virtual or e-Thusong centers, as I've indicated in the beginning, is that we are currently in the development phase. Apart from the citizens that were part of the design, we will raise the necessary awareness and usage during the testing and piloting. And if it is successful and addresses the need of citizens, then that will be followed by a much stronger awareness campaign through CDWs, through various government departments, and making use of various social media challenges as well. Honorable Chair, I think that has covered everything. If I can hand over to Mr. Mutiba to just talk to the multi-channel approach. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Pierre. Greetings to honorable members. I think all questions have been answered, but just to address the issue on multi-phased approach, we will be implementing this virtual Thusong Center without taking anything away from how things are currently being done. This is just merely to add on and improve on access. It will be through mobile, it will be through all sorts of devices. In some instances, we'll have kiosk, like the AED said, in strategic points where, citizens would be able to access the solution in cases where they cannot do so through their devices. Thank you.
Thank you. DG?
Chair, before the DG, may I have the follow-up question too?
Yes, Honorable Ntuli.
Yeah. Chair, I want to put it up front that as members, we might not be undermining the ability of senior citizens, but for me, it can be one or two retired teachers, nurses, or any academia. But in the initial phase, is that maybe we can look at this according to areas. You see, we do have senior citizens or elderly at urban or in a province that is not more rural. But if we speak of deep rural areas, and of which they are the ones who are living on grants, of which they are the ones who are SASSA beneficiaries. Really, they won't even attend the training or the workshop, if you call the workshop, because they don't even understand what you mean by the workshop. For them is to go to the pay point and get their pensions. But applying is the journey. The departure point is to apply. My constituency is in the deep rural area of KwaMaphumulo in KZN. And my office is also located in the Thusong Center. I'm speaking here with experience. You see, Chair, I'm sorry to take your time. Even during COVID, when we were said, members, please try and help the elderly not to come together. When they go there, they hold each other's hand. You say, no, you give them sanitizers, and you say, you must have that 1 meter gap. You go down, when you come back, they are together again. I mean, we are not shying away that there is no problem with new innovations in our country. But what we are saying is that whilst moving forward with new innovations, we must guard against shutting other people down. That's all what we are saying, Chair. Thank you so much.
Chair, I don't know if you'd like us to go ahead as DPSA.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, DG, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I have two colleagues here who I would like to request that they briefly take some of the technical questions, and then I'll come back at the end to just answer some of the issues that are not necessarily technical. So I'm going to ask Santi first, who is the technical expert on this work, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Sokela to follow. Over to you, Santi.
Thank you, DG. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, colleagues. I think one thing we should emphasize is DPSA is not responsible for the Thusong service centers. We were responsible and we're still responsible for Maponya Mall Thusong Service Center, which is a one-stop shop. That's my starting point. Now, the linkage between Thusong Service Centers and DDM, there is none. Thusong service centers are a mechanism from which you can try to implement DDM, but there is none. They are one-stop shop they are service centers in an integrated manner, where we bring in services closer to the people as different departments together. Within Thusong service centers, we find what we call telecenters on our members. And these telecenters are digital centers which citizens use when they are at the Thusong service centers. They are functional. The issue is currently in most Thusong, we have a connectivity challenge. And this was caused mostly by SETA withdrawing, or what we call decommissioning, the Thusong Service Center program. So the telecenters where municipalities are connecting themselves directly, they are functioning. Where SETA is connecting, they are non-functional. Now, to explain the issue of operational means there are services being offered. The minimum services you find in a Thusong is a Home Affairs, Department of Labor, SASSA, if depending on the demographics of the area is transport. Those are the pillars of a Thusong service center. The add-ons depends on the demographics. The enterprise development agencies of government will depend whether there are youth in that area who need access to such services. Now, in terms of the recommendation that was done by the tasking that was set by Covenant, they did recommend that the Thusong service centers be relocated at Cocta. There was a letter that was done, but the minister then said she was not able to receive the program at the time as her department was not capacitated to receive the department. And the reason of the recommendation was based on the fact that where Thusong are currently effectively and efficiently functioning, they are located in provincial Coctas. For example, Mpumalanga, KZN, and the Western Cape. All these provinces are running the Thusong Service Center effectively. Reason being, they can get money for operating those centers through the municipal infrastructural grant. And that's how effective it is. Relocation of it. Now, while they were discussing the relocation to Cocta, included in that scope of work was the funding model, which was done. I don't have the report here. I think GCIS or presidency would have the report on the relocation regarding that relocation process. But the funding model was proposed by National Treasury during that phase. Now, the user rate at the one-stop shop. The one-stop shop, we have one in the country, located in Soweto. And I could tell honorable members the demand of the services at Maponya Mall. I would say from 2010, since it started operating to date, we have served more than 6 million citizens in there and more than 10 million services, because one person can come for different types of services at a time. So the demand is beyond what we can accept, to the extent that the current departments want to relocate to a bigger site within the mall, in the precinct. The lesson learned, honorable members, is the one-stop shop is the most effective way. Because the reason is, a lot of people are migrating from rural areas to urban areas. And when they come to urban areas, they still demand certain services that government needs to offer. So the lessons learned report proved to us that this is the best model of making sure that we integrate government to offer services to citizens. One, first, it reduces the cost of doing business with government, and it reduces the cost of government doing business. I'll explain the two. if you have different buildings around the blocks, a citizen who wants a driver's license need to move from one area and go to another area. But if you put together all those departments under one roof, you are able to make sure that the citizen will go to a particular service delivery point, get all the services that government offers. At Maponya Mall, I can apply for an ID, a driver's license, a UIF, job center. All those services are there under one roof. How efficient it is from one-stop shop. Now, we did a user satisfaction survey, citizen satisfaction survey in 2018, correct? And given that the Thusong Service Center at Maponya Mall provides services in Soweto and the surrounding townships around Soweto, from as far as Orange Farm, people come down to Maponya Mall. They were happy with it. They're still happy with it. At some dates, you would find that it's like when you go out there, you think it's a by-election, but it's not. It's because people are happy with the model and its location where it is located. So the user satisfaction survey report is available, should the committee wants to have it, and the lessons learned report. Those reports are available. I've spoken about the outcome of the interministerial committee. Normally, the challenges you find in various Thusong service centers is connectivity, no center managers, right? Security is minimal, but there is security in most of the Thusong service centers. So to protect the asset that you find in a Thusong, there is physical security that most departments and municipality have hired to protect the equipment that is there. So at Maponya Mall, we even had the advantage of having electronic security and physical security combined. Now, I want to clarify the issue of the transfer. We're only talking about the transfer of Maponya Mall from DPSA because legislatively, we don't have mandate to be offering services. We develop frameworks, norms and standards, complaints management. That's what we do to foster efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery. Now, after the model has been operating from 2010, we believe it is matured to be taken to a department that has footprint within a local sphere of government. We've started the negotiation process with Gauteng Province, and it's working well in the sense that the DG in the Office of the Premier has established a task team to make sure that the transfer is happening as it should be. They will decide as a province which is the receiving departments. And so far, the Department of Transport also has had a hand on to say they are willing to take over this project. So we're still negotiating to ensure that whoever is the receiving department will be able to house the model as it is, as a one-stop shop. So the service basket, as I said, the minimum service basket is Home Affairs, Department of Labor, SASSA, Transport when regional, and then you'll have various agencies, NGOs, and depending on the demographics of a particular area. Now, in terms of the best practice incorporated, we believe that moving forward, what we have tested at Maponya Mall in terms of cost sharing will be what needs to be rolled out in every Thusong or in all the Thusong. And this is how it will work. It's working currently. Each department has a mandate to offer services to citizens. And that mandate is funded by Treasury somehow. So all the departments that sits under one roof bring a portion to contribute to the maintenance and running of that Thusong, including the appointment of a center manager. So the cost-sharing model is working fine at Maponya Mall, though we have one agency which has not been paying. We are in the process, DG is in the process to get rid of them. Issues of regulatory weaknesses. A framework is a guideline on how to do it. It's not a regulation. It's like a white paper. We need a regulatory mandate of which we would say to provinces and municipalities, this is what you will follow, and they should do that. The how part is done. We have a framework on how to run and manage, establish, manage, and operationalize a Thusong Service Center. We have a framework on service centers in general, but we have a specific one focusing on Thusong Service Centers. But there is no regulation that says this is what you should do in order to provide services to citizens. So we need that element that will also identify the lead department. Then the other things will fall into place. Because in some of the provinces, they'll say this is an unfunded mandate. Yet it's not. Because each department has a mandate to offer services to citizens. And that mandate is funded. All we do, we bring them together under one roof, and they share the cost of that building. I've spoken about security measures to protect the equipment. DG, thank you, Chairperson. That is my last bite on the question that were raised.
Thank you, Santi. Dr. Sokela, do you have anything to raise?
Thank you very much, DG. I'd like to support what Santi had said, but with reflection, DG, I may, with your permission, reflect in terms of the critical, nature of funding a lead department, because it will then clarify a lot of issues. For instance, on the question of what is the relationship between the DDM and the Thusong. Eventually, if there is a lead department, that lead department will be able to explain that interrelatedness. But from a policy point of view, mainly from the governing party policy documents, during the second administration, that's when the concept of an integrated service delivery was pursued via the public service or single service concept. And Thusongs were one of the thematic areas in terms of the single public service at the time, under the element or thematic area of access. So the key word was integration. And if you look at the DDM, it's cooperative governance amongst the three spheres of government. So eventually, once you have a lead department, that lead department will be able to explain that linkage in terms of that value chain. But from a policy point of view, from a conceptual point of view, eventually there will be a linkage and it will be properly explained by that lead department. Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you, Dr. Sokela. I think, Chair, from my part is really just, I think the colleagues have really addressed in detail the concerns of members. I think let's take the feedback as DPSA that members are raising, that we're still bringing the same information that they know. I think that we have also clarified what are some of the challenges that are facing this project. DPSA is not responsible for Thusong centers in the country. DPSA was tasked by Cabinet to do a pilot specifically in relation to an urban center, which we have done with Maponya Mall, and we developed a funding model that colleagues have talked to, and it's a sustainable funding model as long as the departments are able to pay, those who are participating are able to pay what is due. There's a mechanism that we use, a system we use to calculate and divide the costs amongst the departments. This pilot has been running since 2010. And I think a cabinet decision was taken in 2008. So the pilot has been running since then. We are basically stuck with this pilot because we can't wake up as DPSA and go and say we're closing the center in Maponya Mall, because that center is servicing so many people. some of the members asked for the user rate. The reports I've seen is that ever since that center has been established, it has serviced more than 6 million people, and it's a very busy center. I visit it occasionally, even when I want to apply for my own documentation, I use that particular center. It's a very busy center. So from that point of view, we can't just wake up and close it because we don't have a mandate, because the pilot has matured. So now we've been pushing to hand it over, at least to the provincial government. We've tried with COGTA. Cabinet had taken a decision, it must be handed to COGTA. We tried with COGTA. The previous minister of COGTA said they do not have capacity nor resources to take care of that. So we couldn't just close it and move on, even though it becomes a challenge from an accounting point of view for DPSA, because we do not have a mandate that is service delivery specific. Ours is to set norms and standards. So the lessons learned from this project have been very useful in terms of exactly building on those norms and standards for Thusong centers. The other issue I just wanted to raise was, there was a question around challenges. I just want to highlight 3 challenges. The first challenge is a security challenge. Where there's home affairs, there's security challenges. Besides other challenges of which are physical nature in terms of access to the building and etc. The home affairs challenges relate to the corruption issues that home affairs has to deal with. In the center, we've removed about 2 or 3 of our security guards because they were being targeted by some of the people who are unhappy about the work that they are doing in the center. And there's been some suspensions of employees within the Home Affairs center there operating at Maponya Mall. So there's been security issues, but we have raised them with the security cluster. We have raised them with Home Affairs. And I would like to believe that those issues are being given attention. We do have a security company that's responsible for entire security. We also have an electronic security mechanism that we have put in place in terms of the center. We have a queue management system. So the queue management system we've deployed is able to tell us each and every person who has been through the center and has received services from the center. It's integrated. It brings everyone together as they enter and as they exit the center. So we're able to keep track on the performance of the center itself. The second challenge is the space issue. I think with the advent of COVID, and it became very clear that the center is small as it is. There's not much space. And with the advent as well of load shedding, when there's no electricity and people still have to work, there's no aircon because the electricity that we have can just support basic operations, not air conditioning and etc., then it becomes a challenge. So we are in discussions with Maponya for they have bigger space that they can move the center, and they will also bring SASA. SASA is currently inside the mall, but they will take SASA outside of the mall into the center. For those members who may be familiar with Maponya Mall, they have a space that is open that used to be the gym, Virgin Active. That's the space that we're in conversation with them about, including Public Works. There's also the Department of Transport in Gauteng that has also indicated they want to join and be part of the center. So the space issue may be addressed soon. The third area is the payments. There are well, we have one challenge, actually. It's one, let me not say there are. Out of all the departments that we have, there is one that has seemingly is refusing to pay. We've been begging them, threatening them last year to pay, and they have not paid. So a few days ago, I have issued an instruction that they must be kicked out of the center because their failure to pay means DPSA must pay. And DPSA, I don't have a budget line to subsidize a department that is at Maponya Mall to pay for them. And it becomes a query from an AG perspective, even though a service is being delivered, but it becomes a query because at DPSA, we don't have budget set aside to pay to subsidize a department that is unable to pay. But we are in a contractual agreement through Public Works with Maponya Mall. So it's expected that come month end, Maponya Mall must get its money, whether another department pays or not, because we are representing those departments in terms of the contract that has been signed by Public Works. Are we satisfied with the performance of the Thusong centers? Definitely more can be done with the Thusong centers countrywide, and which is why we are raising these issues with the portfolio committee, because where the portfolio committee can intervene, it's important that the portfolio committee intervenes on this matter. Where funding should come from, funding for service delivery is already integrated in funding that goes to service delivery departments. So Home Affairs funding takes into account that they have to do this type of work and reach out to communities and etc. And all departments that are core in terms of service delivery. So it is a matter of those departments being able to look at their budgets and reprioritizing, because I don't think that there's going to be any money that comes from Treasury or from the National Figure specifically, at least during this period around the Thusong centers. Where to next? We've been working on a memo that we are taking back to the cabinet to give a report to cabinet, and we're hoping that by the time we go to cabinet, we would have signed an agreement with Gauteng taking over at least the Thusong Center that is in Maponya, which is the one that we were tasked by cabinet to take over, and just to report back to cabinet and make recommendations on some of the issues that need to be attended to. And some of those issues have come out of this meeting as well. So that's the one big step that we're taking. In as far as Thusong is concerned, we are working around the clock to ensure that we get a partner to take over, which is a provincial government in partnership with local government, to because there is really value to have that center where it is at Maponya Mall. The numbers that we are getting there are telling us that there is a need for that center to continue operating. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DG. DM, any closing remarks? Is the DM still in the meeting, Emasi?
Yes, Chair.
DM, Honorable
Thank you, Chair.
Any closing remarks?
Yes.
So that we
Thank
move
you,
to
Chair.
the next item.
Yes. Thank you, Chairperson. And I just want to welcome all the comments, and I'm sure you welcoming also the responses from the officials, and to say good morning also to Honorable Deputy Minister. I wasn't aware that Deputy Minister Kenny Murulong is in the meeting, but I heard subsequently that he is in the meeting when he was acknowledged. Chair, that's our presentation. We continue to look forward to improvement of these Thusong service centers. We know that a lot has been done. It has not been perfect. The intention is still there. And I'm just responding to the comments that actually say, is there political will? There will continue to be political will to actually ensure that there is easy access to public services in South Africa. And also what is very urgent is this whole thing of managing to get a home for Thusong service centers, to have a dedicated department that will have enough funding to manage to deal with Thusong service centers in a way that will actually help to make these services accessible. It's the only or maybe one of the many ways that we can actually help to improve service delivery in South Africa, by just making it easier for South Africans to manage to get services, public service, when they need to do so. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Honorable DM and DG, the team of the DPSA, the CPSI, and also the team from the office in the presidency. We thank you very much, and we are at the end of our meeting with yourselves, and I will then release you, and honorable members will remain so that we proceed with the last item of this meeting, which is our minutes. So you are all released, Honorable DM and the DG and the team, and all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
members.
Yes, bye.
Bye.
Okay, Chair, can I proceed?
Oh, I'm still here, away.
Yes, you can flight the first minutes.
Yes, Chairperson. Good morning to you, Chairperson, once again, and to honorable members. We have 5 sets of minutes, Chairperson, but they're very short, Chair. So I'll move quickly. These are the minutes of the 2nd of May 2023, Chair. I'm on page 1. During this time, we're doing the annual performance plans, Chair. Page 2. Okay, that's page 3, Chair. Page 4, Chair. These are the minutes of the 2nd of May, Chairperson. They were also sent a couple of times, Chairperson, to honorable members.
No, thank you very much, Mercy. Honorable members, this is the set of minutes of the 2nd May 2023. And I think minutes were sent many times to ourselves. Yes, I agree. And I believe that we have read them for comments or maybe for editing. I can see then the hand of Honorable Ibi, followed by Honorable Ntuli.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, I move for the acceptance or adoption of the minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson. Yes, Honorable Ntuli.
Chairperson, I second Honorable Kibi for adopting the minutes.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The minutes of the 2nd of May 2023 have been adopted. The next set of minutes, Mercy, the 3rd.
Yes, Chair, these are the minutes of the 3rd of May, Chair.
Yes.
This was the 2nd day when we were doing APPs, Chair. I'm on page 1. Page 2. Page 3, Chair. Page 4, Chair. That's the last page, Chairperson. These are the minutes of the 3rd of May, 2023.
Thank you very much, Mercy. Honorable members, these are the minutes of the 3rd of May when the DPME was still with the portfolio committee. I've seen the hand of Honorable Ntuli.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of this set of minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Ntuli. Any second, honorable members?
Honorable Chair, it's Honorable TV. I don't know, I'm struggling to raise my hand. I second the mover by Honorable Ntuli on the minutes of the 3rd, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kibi. The minutes of the 3rd of May 2023 has been adopted. and seconded. The next set, Mercy, is the
Thank you,
8th of
Chairperson.
May.
On the 5th of May, Chair, that is when.
Oh, the 5th, yes.
That is when the committee
Sorry,
adopted.
Mercy, it's dark here. Okay. The 5th of May.
Yes, Chair. I on page 1, Chair. Page 2. That's the last page, Chairperson, page 3. These are the minutes of
The fifth, the third set of minutes of the 5th, we were dealing with the budget votes, honorable members. I can see the hands to speak. Honorable Nduli and then Honorable Kibi. I don't see other hands, honorable members. And by the look of things, we were all in the meeting of the 5th of May.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of the set of minutes of the 5th of May.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nduli, Honorable Kibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I second the mover by Honorable Nduli. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The minutes of the 5th of May have been adopted. The next set, Mercy.
The second last one, Chairperson, these are the minutes of the 17th of May. We had NSG, TPSA, and Public Service Commission on the day, Chairperson. I'm on page 1.
Chairperson, on page 1.
Yes, Honorable Maneli.
It's written Ms. TS. I'm ST, not TS.
Apologies for that, Honorable Maneli. We will correct it accordingly.
Okay.
Page 2. Page 3. Okay, page 4, Chair. That's the last page, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair. Those are the minutes of the 17th May 2023.
Thank you very much, Mercy. The minutes of the 17th of May, presentations of the NSG and the DPSA and obviously the PSC. Honorable members, I'm looking for hands. Honorable Maneli.
Chairperson, I move for adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Kibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I second the adoption. Honorable Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kibi. Mercy, the last set of minutes, Mercy.
Thank you very much. These are the minutes of the 24th of May, 2023. We had an election of a chairperson, we had Pakisa. We had also DPM each on the day. I'm on page 1. Page 2, Chair. Page 3. Page 4. That's the last page, Chairperson. These are the minutes of the 24th, Chair, 2023. Chair, those are the last ones.
Yes, can you, I want to see the date again of these minutes. Masi.
Okay, Chairperson, let me quickly try to upload them again. The minutes of the 24th, Chair, 2023 May.
Okay, the 24th. No, thank you very much, Masi. The minutes of the 24th May 2023 have been read. I don't see hands. Okay,
Chair,
Honorable
Chair, my
Nahal.
hand is up. My hand is up, Chair.
Honorable Ntuli.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of this set of minutes.
The minutes have been moved by Honorable Ntuli, Honorable Nahal.
Thank you, Chair. I second the adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes of the 24th of May 2023 have been duly adopted. And the next item on Masi.
We are done with the minutes, Chair. I think we'll go to adjournment, Chair.
No, thank you very much to all of you, honorable members, and importantly, the support staff of this portfolio committee. We thank you, all of you, and now the time, it's 11:30, and the portfolio committee is adjourned. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Malbong.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Recording stopped.